This is the Moonlight Graham Show, a freewheeling conversation with the role players, the underdogs, and guys with flat-out great stories in sports.
Hello and welcome back to the Moonlight Graham Show. Once again, I'm your host, Tim Flattery, and our Moonlighter for today has one of the coolest jobs in sports. He is the Director of Operations at the Field of Dreams movie site right outside of Dyersville, Iowa. His name is Roman Weinberg. You see, it wasn't too long ago when the entire baseball world, and especially the state of Iowa, was going crazy about the upcoming Major League Baseball game that was going to take place at the Field of Dreams in August of 2020 between the Chicago White Sox and the New York Yankees. You guys remember that? Remember how excited we were? That was kind of a fun time. But of course, that was before COVID-19 came around and threw the sports world into turmoil. And that's where we're at right now between, the baseball owners and the Players Association are trying to negotiate a deal to play a season. And that's not even factoring in all of the precautions that are going to be necessary for COVID-19 sports in the COVID-19 world. And so I wanted to get Roman Weinberg on the podcast to see, what's going on at the Field of Dreams right now. If you remember about a month ago, we had Jonathan Jawade from Baseballism on the show to talk about that new store that they built at the Field of Dreams, which I think is so cool. I have not been over there yet to see it, but I've seen videos and pictures and it looks so cool. But the bigger question is, are they still building that Major League field and portable stadium over at the Field of Dreams movie site as well, with kind of a lot of uncertainty right now? Are we even going to have a baseball season? And if we have a baseball season, are they still going to do a Field of Dreams game? I mean, those are the big questions. And there's nobody better to answer that than Roman Weinberg, the Director of Operations over at the Field of Dreams. Roman and I got connected a couple of years back through a Field of Dreams event. We've stayed in pretty good communication over the last couple of years. He is the perfect guy to have that role at the Field of Dreams because he's so passionate about baseball. He's passionate about the Field of Dreams, and he's a great guy just to see and to interact with when you're making a trip over to Dyersville. So I was really excited to get him on the podcast for today. But before we get to the interview, guys, I got to mention that we just printed some brand new Moonlight Graham Show shirts. They're selling like hotcakes right now. So if you haven't ordered your new Moonlighter shirt, head over to our website at moonlightgrahamshow.com to pick up your Moonlighter shirt. They're really awesome. They're really cool, and they've been selling very well so far. And if you like what we're doing here on the Moonlight Graham Show, make sure to follow the show and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. Subscribe to the Moonlight Graham Show, and we would love it. We would love it if you left us a 5-star review. You can also follow the show on social media, of course, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We love hearing from you guys each and every week. So enjoy today's episode with the Director of Operations over at the Field of Dreams, Roman Weinberg. This week's episode of the Moonlight Graham Show is brought to you by the People's Company. That's right, they are back as a sponsor because so often I hear from farmers throughout Iowa and throughout the Midwest who are listening to the podcast while they are planting, while they are harvesting. They're in their tractors, they're in their combines, which makes the People's Company a perfect partner for the Moonlight Graham Show here. As you guys probably well know, the People's Company is based in West Des Moines, Iowa, but they've really grown to be one of the nation's leading providers in land brokerage, land management, land appraisal, and investment services. These guys, and I know Andrew Zelmer and Matt Adams over there at the People's Company, these guys live and breathe farmland, farm management, and they know that industry better than anybody. So if you're looking to buy a farm, sell a farm, having an auction coming up, call the People's Company. They are the best in the business. Check them out at peoplescompany.com. So Roman Weinberg, the Director of Operations for Go the Distance Baseball. Roman, I think the first question on everybody's mind, let's cut right to the chase. Is this game at the Field of Dreams this year going to happen?
Tim, that's the question, isn't it? First off, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. We've had you on the Dream Nation show a couple of times, so it's just good to be on your show. But, that is the big question, and at this point, it's still on. So the question on what that looks like is yet to be seen, and I'm sure in the upcoming weeks we'll know more. But as of right now, obviously, the big question before that needs to be answered is whether or not there will be a 2020 MLB season.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Once they figure that out, we'll know a lot more, and I'm sure MLB will redirect their attention to this game, and we'll have a lot more clarity. But at this point, we're being told it's on, and for us, it's a comfort. Construction is still underway on the field, and they started back up for the season in April. So right now, the green lights are on, and everything's a go at this point.
So, Roman, I saw recently they had laid down sod, and I've been tracking kind of the progress here at the new field. What is it looking like today?
Oh, it looks gorgeous. Yeah, I was actually just out there. I had to drop off a shipment that arrived for them, and the sod is looking good. They did lay that down in the middle of the week last week. So it was really good to see, and you can actually just picture it in your head now of the Yankees and White Sox taking the field under the lights now that they're sod down. But they have the infield dirt down. They're working on the bullpen and working on the elements that make up the diamond. So they're almost done with that, and then they'll start moving on to the structure surrounding the field.
That's so cool. And you've got, kind of a bird's eye view, front row view for all of this stuff, this transformation that's happening, kind of the real life Field of Dreams as this field is being created right in front of your face. So, Roman, there's only one guy in the world who has like the director of operations job at the Field of Dreams. There's a lot of like teachers and insurance guys and bankers in the world, but there's only one guy that has your job. How did you come into this job?
Well, it took some time, and I was very lucky, and I'm blessed, I'll tell you that. Started as an intern, actually, right? Started from the bottom, now we're here.
There you go.
2015, I interned for the Field of Dreams, and I met Denise Stillman in 2014 as a fan. I attended the 25th anniversary with my family, played catch, got to meet Kevin Costner, Bob Costas, all the celebrities that were there for that great weekend, Father's Day weekend, 6 years ago. And it just it was mesmerizing for everyone there. And there's just nothing like it. I think out of all the events that I've experienced personally here at the field, that one is by far my favorite, just for all of the emotions and everything that it stirred up in everyone. And it brought a tear to your eye when you saw Kevin Costner and Dwyer Brown having a reunion on the field playing catch again for the first time since the making of the film. So, there I was looking to get into the sport management industry, a sport management major at Loras College in Dubuque, go Dewhawks, and was looking for an opportunity to get in the industry but stay local. I've always been an Iowa boy at heart, so wanted to stay local if I could, but understandably, with the industry and everything, for those that are in the industry, know that there's a shortage of jobs in the sport management industry in the state of Iowa. So I kind of was at peace with having to move and relocate if I needed. But in 2014, that 25th anniversary kind of changed my life and changed my career path. The whole event was kind of an epiphany for me. And I just said, look, if I can wake up every day and do this and create an event like this and change people's lives and have an impact on people's lives and just give them an escape, I've got it made. So I kind of made it my goal to just be involved. And a couple of my friends were actually interning for the field at that time. And I said, hey, do you know the owner? And they're like, yeah, it's Denise Stillman. I'm like, okay, awesome. Can you introduce me to her? And I just kept, they were about ready to beat me off with a stick at that point. Just like after 5 or 6 times, I'm just like, hey, did you talk to her about me? Can you introduce me to her? And they were just sick of it. But, it took a couple of months, but I finally got to interview with Denise. And she gave me the opportunity to prove myself and come out. And it was everything that I had hoped for. For goodness sake, you're a kid in a candy store. I've grown up a baseball fan, and to be working at a place as iconic as this in the world of baseball, and outside of the baseball world, it's pretty special. So it's been a ride, and I've been doing pretty much anything you could think of at the field. I wear many hats, but it's a blessing, and our team is proud to do what we do.
Yeah, I got to imagine it's pretty exciting to be in your shoes right now and to be at the Field of Dreams every day, because this is kind of like the third life of the Field of Dreams. Of course, you had, back in 1989, of course, the movie comes out, and that's kind of the first life. But then, Keith Ray and the Ghost Players and all of that have kept the field alive over the last 30 years or so. But now this new major league field being constructed there, it's brought new life to the field, and it's so amazing that the field has continued to have a life of its own even outside of the movie. So what's that like? What's kind of the spirit of the Field of Dreams? Has it been re-energized with this major league news?
Oh, Tim, you hit the nail on the head. You're so right in the fact that the Field of Dreams now, 31 years later, the movie site has had so many chapters in its life and really taken on a life of its own. And it's almost as if the movie site and the movie are two different things, right? You get two different emotions, and it kind of puts it all to perspective when you're here. So, it's just been such a blessing to be a part of. And in 2012, when ownership changed hands and Denise Stillman and Go the Distance Baseball bought the property from the Lansing family, who had owned it for over 100 years, Century Farm in Iowa, we had prided ourselves on remarketing the field and giving it new life and energy and bringing back the Ghost Players, creating the Team of Dreams event with Mystique Casino, and now Travel to Butte, working with them on it every year. So it's just been, those events have helped keep it in the limelight and in the spotlight, but also some of the anniversaries. But yes, this just brings it to a whole new level. The news of this MLB game just ensured that Field of Dreams is now on the international map, more so now than ever, for decades to come. So it's a huge marketing blessing, and I'm sure for months on end you're not going to be able to turn the channel without hearing some mention of the MLB game or on the TV or on social media.
Yeah, and I know, you got a new Baseballism barn there that's really cool, new retail store that Baseballism, the great baseball brand, has just built. You're building a new Major League Baseball field just off of the movie site there. Has it been challenging to kind of see all of this change happen to the field at the same time? Because for so long, the field hadn't changed and still felt and looked very much like it did in the movie set. But now you have all this construction going on, and I think some of the concern is that, some of that mystique, some of that kind of old school time travel, take a step back in time feel to it might be gone. Has that been hard to deal with?
A little bit, yeah, but I think as people start to travel back and see it for themselves, the one benefit, first off, I can't say enough good things about Baseballism, and off the field baseball lifestyle apparel brand out of Portland, Oregon. We'd been talking to them for several months last year before the announcement was made. So it's not like this was a direct result of the MLB announcement, but obviously a lot of good things have stemmed from the announcement. But for us, we're proud of the building, and right away, our partners, our main objective, Tim, is obviously we're cognizant, we're aware of the fact of what this means, what the movie site means, and the appeal and the draw, and it's simplicity, right? That's what makes the Field of Dreams movie site what it is, and that's what appeals to people. So for us, we try to keep that, but also, again, like we've done since 2012, is give it a little bit of a facelift, but complementing what is currently here. That red gift shop was so dear to the hearts of many that have been here in the years past, and for our staff as well. It was hard to see it go down. Honestly, I didn't really want to watch it, but I had to go down. But, it's just turning the page, turning a chapter, and having this new building now with air conditioning that fans can go in and take a break from that hot, humid weather that we get here in Iowa. You're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
Is going to be great for fans. And the fact that this barn, it's a 2-story and it's bigger than the original, but for us, painting it red, it will be painted dark barn red, like the other buildings here on site. So it's really going to blend in, and Baseballism was aware as well that this site is very special. So the last thing that any of our partners or we want to do is break that apart and turn it into something that the field's not. So all the decisions that we're making are trying to complement what's here.
Is your office in the Field of Dreams house?
You know, that's the sad part for me is it was in the house. And for a while when construction was just starting in the fall, on the field, I literally, as you said earlier, I had the best seat in the house. I had a bird's eye view at everything. And more importantly, so I had an eye on who was going back to the construction site, right? Because the corn was up and people were walking through the corn into the construction site. So I had the bird's eye view, and I was every couple of minutes just looking out the window, seeing who's trying to peek back there. But, you know, that was fun. But now our offices are back in the Baseballism store in the back third of that building.
Nice. And, you know, I suppose, you know, the Field of Dreams is such a magical place, Roman. Like, I had my bachelor party out there. I think you probably remember that. I've been out there a number of times, especially over the last couple of years. So you see so many cool things on a day-to-day basis, like families coming from all over the country, maybe all over the world, to just play catch on a random Tuesday afternoon, and people wanting to walk out of the corn and get all the pictures. But you go to work there every day. That's where you go to work. Is it hard not to get calloused with seeing that every day and kind of maybe it taking some of the shine or the magic away from the place?
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it's very, you know, it is stressful at times, like any job, but the beautiful part about it is that it's a tourist attraction. So I get to go out of my office and at any time take a break and just talk with people I've never met from across the country, across the world, and hear how the field relates to them. I mean, I've had so many encounters with people that just make your jaw drop, right? And it's just so humbling to hear these stories from people and hear their journey and why they were destined to come to the field and how the field speaks to them. So for me, I see it as a blessing and a responsibility to keep the spirit alive here at the field. And that's what keeps us going. And for me, it still is magical just by talking to them. And obviously the big events too are a huge reward for us. What's
the farthest somebody has traveled to the Field of Dreams that you've talked to?
Well, all the way on the other side of the planet, Australia. We've had China, Australia, probably the farthest. But, I mean, honestly, we've heard everywhere, right? Tokyo, just Germany, anywhere around Europe. I mean, we've had probably over 100 foreign countries represented here easily throughout the site's inception. So it's pretty humbling.
So I mentioned earlier I had my bachelor party out there. I played a game at the Field of Dreams as well. Have you ever hosted an event out there that you thought, I never thought the Field of Dreams would be hosting this type of event? Like my bachelor party, for instance. Granted, we were playing music and we took batting practice on the field. We treated the field like a baseball field. But has there ever been an event out there that you're like, I can't believe we're hosting this right now?
Yes, last year, actually. And we're starting to branch out. You know, we're getting creative and just having – the field is such a platform, right? And we're looking at it as, look, we've got this nationally recognized and internationally recognized baseball field. Let's use it as a platform for bigger events and not just events, but causes and movements out there and charities and funds, and bring light to some heavy issues like cancer and ALS and Muscular Dystrophy Association, things like that, right? Other topics and causes out there that we try to support and give back. So we see that as our responsibility. But one last year that we had, it was paint out night at the Field of Dreams. It was in October. The corn was brown, but it was still up. And we had painters, 40 plein air painters. I didn't even know plein air painting was a thing, but apparently it's a specific style of art.
Never heard of it.
We had painters. Yeah. We had painters from 13 different states represented, and we had 40, I'd say close to 40, if not more than that, painters just sat up on their chair with an easel and a canvas and were painting. And there was wine, there was live music, there was a food truck out here, and just sit there and you're like, how did this happen? But yeah, we had an art show essentially at the Field of Dreams last year. So, bizarre things. we try and branch out and think out of the box, but that was awesome. We ended up actually buying one of those paintings that night, and it's featured inside the farmhouse where fans can actually stay overnight as well.
Cool. What were they painting? Were they painting the field itself or the farmhouse?
Well, the beautiful thing, we really gave them, within reason, right, free access to the site. So some of them, that's the beauty of art, is it's open to interpretation, and they could paint whatever the heck they wanted. So some were painting the bridge across the creek, and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Some were painting the side of the house. Some were painting just the cornfields and the rolling, beautiful farmhouse that we have here in Iowa and farm country. And most of them were painting the field. And we had the ghost players actually out here as well. We had several of them come out of the corn, and the artists that were here on site, their eyes lit up, and they started just drawing the silhouette, trying to get the silhouette down of the ghosts while they were there, and then just filling the dots later. But yeah, a lot of them were mesmerized by the field. How can you not be?
I've been, every time I'm there, I'm just blown away by it's just a different feel. It's a really magical place, and I'm not just saying that too. I've said that to everybody I've ever talked to about the field. It's a really, really special place. So, Roman, I know you're a big fan of the show, and you know the way we end every episode of the Moonlight Graham Show is with the 5 big questions, all right? So the first question for you, Roman Weinberg, is you mentioned earlier you met Kevin Costner and Bob Costas and Dwyer Brown, and you've had a lot of interactions with some really famous people. Have you ever been starstruck by any of these famous people?
Oh, man. I should have anticipated the question being asked. I try not to be. You can't be in my position in my profession. I pride myself on not getting to be that giddy schoolboy and just starstruck somebody, but I definitely fanboyed out when I met Grandpa Rossi last year.
Oh, David Ross, yeah.
Yeah. So David was out here for the first time last year, and it was great. And the first thing he did when I was introduced to him was, he thanked us for the opportunity to come out. And that's the beautiful part, right? These guys that have stepped foot on every major league diamond see this place is special just like any other fan. And they see it as a right and a privilege to get out there, and they're just having fun. It's like spring training. I mean, you've been out here for the Team of Dreams events, and other large-scale events. Our 30th anniversary last year, you were a part of. You were a ghost coming out of the corn with your father. So,
best day ever.
Yeah, it was special, and the rain held off on us, so that was awesome. But you get these guys and gals that are celebrities in their own right, and tons of accolades, and just come out here and let loose on the field and have fun with their families, playing with their kids. And it's cool to see that it means just as much to them as it does to everybody else.
So is there one guy that you want to meet that you have not met? Because I know you have met so many people at those Team of Dreams events and everything else. Is there like one guy, whether it's involved with the Field of Dreams or not, that's on your list?
Oh, James Earl Jones, honestly.
Yeah.
Just one for the part that he played in the film, but you're talking about an icon in the movie industry that has just had such an impact on filmmaking. You're talking about Darth Vader and Mufasa and, the iconic voices of several movies. It's, we have not actually had him out here, so that's something I'm trying to orchestrate. But yeah, it'd be nice to meet him.
Third question now, Roman. Are you going to the game? Will you have a ticket, or will you be in the stadium if it takes place in August?
Honestly, it has changed, right? We have a 4-day festival in Dyersville planned called Beyond the Game, and just to entertain fans from all over the country that wanted to come out and experience some of the festivities. And we were going to play host, similar to the All-Star Game, to the NFL Draft, MLB Draft, other large-scale sporting events. We were going to host that. But with things being affected with COVID, the landscape's changed a little bit. So I might have some time to kill, and I think if I can, I would like to be sitting in that along the third baseline there with the field in the background watching that game.
Oh, yeah. Well, if there's any need for an extra grounds crew member to be, raking the base paths during the game, you got my number, Roman. So you let me know.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I'll be ready to, be pulling one of those drags in between innings.
Awesome. You and along with 300 other people that I've got.
I know. But I at least got to get my name in there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you've done a lot for us. You're a friend of the field. You know that.
Yeah. All right, fourth question. When's the last time you had a catch on the field?
Ooh, last time was actually November, and it was with Dwyer Brown. Dwyer was out here for a documentary just one weekend, mid-November, for a project that was being worked on by a documentary company and producing it. And they came out, and he was out here with his kids for the first time. So he got to show his kids the field, and I just asked him at the end of filming that day, I said, hey, I have to ask you something selfish. He says, what's that? I said, can we reenact the scene from the movie real quick in the infield, exactly where you were standing? And we went and reenacted that. So that was
cool.
the last time I had catch.
Nice. Well, you gotta do it again here. Get Tucker out there and play catch with him or something.
Oh, well, our intern crew just started this week, and I have them coming back for office hours this afternoon. And Tucker and I were just talking yesterday, and it's a tradition that we have our annual home run derby at the end of the season with our intern crew. So, yeah, we'll be able to do that here soon enough.
Cool. And final question here, Roman. What's the best advice you've ever received?
For me, it'd probably be don't sweat the small stuff. Right, especially now, that's the one that sticks out into my head. I don't know if that's the most important or the one I've used most of my life, but the one that sticks out to me right now that I'm finding particularly useful is don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, our industry, the tourism industry, has been rocked by what's going on. And first off, everyone listening, I hope you're staying safe, social distancing, and slowly easing back into normalcy as things start to open up across the country. But for us, it's been roll with the punches, right? So it's why lose sleep over something that you can't control as long as you have contingency plans in place, and same thing in your personal life. Don't sweat the small stuff and just live in the moment, and don't take anything for granted.
I love that. That's great advice. Always great advice. I love that. Don't lose sleep over stuff that you can't control. I mean, that crosses over into every avenue of life. So that's great advice. Well, Roman, I know you got a lot going on right now. We got big plans coming up here at the Field of Dreams this summer. I'm so excited. Hopefully that game takes place, and hopefully you and I can run into each other at some point this summer.
Hey, that sounds great, Tim. Looking forward to it.
Hey guys, thanks once again to listening to today's episode of the Moonlight Graham Show. And even though I do most of the interviews here on the podcast, there is a ton of work that happens behind the scenes that you guys don't see that make each episode possible. So I got to give a shout out to the Moonlight Graham Show team. First of all, Brian Sandvig, our producer. Brian does all of the post-production work, and in real life, he's not just a podcast producer, he's also a real estate agent. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home down in the Kansas or Missouri areas, give Brian Sandvig a call. Next guy on that list is Brendan Gargano. Brendan does all of our design and artwork here on the podcast. He's one of the most talented artists I've ever met, and I love all of his work. If you need any help on the design side with logos or anything like that, give Brendan Gargano a call. The next guy on that list is Andy Flattery, my older brother. Andy, of course, has done some of the interviews here on the podcast. He also is a certified financial planner. He owns a business called Simple Wealth Planning. If you need any help in that area, check Andy Flattery out. And then, of course, the trusty co-host Tom Griffin and my younger brother Neil Flattery. Those guys are just busy being husbands, being fathers, they're family men, but also they do a ton of work here on the show. So thanks again for listening. We really appreciate you guys subscribing and supporting the Moonlight Graham Show.